It's another week in the For Your Reference household, and it's not the first time we've called out the industry, right, OT? Love and splooshes to everyone involved in SIS, the show. We will put all the links in the show notes. It is explained more eloquently than I could ever. There is an open letter to the New Zealand film and TV industry calling to account, I guess, the meta now that it has legs, right, OT? The metaverse of it all, the calling out of the industry of it all. Go and check out that open letter. Also, there is a petition to go and sign Friends and Lovers, and we do know and we do talk about Indigenous storytelling all around the world. And when I say Indigenous storytelling, OT, I'm talking about Rutherford Falls, not Yellowstone.
Oh, wow.
And as a treat, and I guess in support and in protest, Friends and Lovers, the whole first season of SIS is available for everyone to watch on Vimeo right now. Get into it. It's super nasty. Watch it and come back for the episode, Friends and Lovers.
For sure.
Let's get on with the show. Friends and storytelling lovers, welcome back to the For Your Reference podcast. You got your host, Katie.
And OT.
Plug in to the diversity matrix where caucasity ticks all the boxes. Join the roll call of industry babies and diversity daddies with SIS this week.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Are you strapped in, OT?
Always.
We're going to strap on and we're going to keep it nasty. Friends and lovers, like we've mentioned many, many times, most recently, but also in general, Indigenous storytelling is so important because, again, it's important for stories to be told, but it's important on who are telling those stories.
Fact.
Which gives us the key word, the Sesame Street O.T. Grover phrase of story sovereignty. In support, and also because we fucking love SIS, the show season 1, we will be covering it today. Again, it is available on Vimeo. Make sure you go and watch it. The format's very interesting. There's sketches, but there's also through plots throughout all of the episodes as well. There's a lot of characters. We've done a handful of Pacifica and Maori film and TV on this podcast. So hopefully, friends and lovers, you're satiated and your palate is most welcome. And we're going to talk a lot because this show really achieved so many notes in a first season sort of format, right?
It really did.
Let's get into general stats and information. Love and splooshes to Hanel Harris in regards to writing credits. We also have Maya T, Joe Diamond, George Imahira, Mo Lunga, Victor Roger, Thomas Sansbury, Destiny Momosia, as well as Mark O'Toole in regards to cast. We have Suvai Atakamaya, Hilary Samuela, as well as Gabby Solomona in regards to producers. We have Hanel Harris, Jaden Leslie, Maya T, Karen Williams, Destiny Momosia, Liz DeFore, shout outs to the Panthers, Halai Whanua Whanau, as well as Gabby Solomona.
Nice.
And Robbie Mangasiva.
Mr. Jackson.
If you're nasty. I thought I was just imagining him. So it was good to know he was actually there, OT. Well, OT, like many of our friends and lovers, you've now become maybe not well, but adequately lubricated in Maori and Pacifica sort of entertainment. Let's get your first impressions. How did you feel about the TV show? And I guess if there's any sort of confusion, the full first episode was released and has been available, and the rest of the season is available now on Vimeo. So how has your journey been, my love?
I remember watching the first episode a while back, and it was fun. It was invigorating. I remember us thinking, what the fuck is the next episode dropping?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that just really resonated. And I think the fact that it was done by Pacifica people, there's just a lot of stories to be told in such a unique way in their own. And I was there for it.
I just feel like you're trying to get a delicious Kenyan podcaster on season 2. Is that what you're trying to do?
Hopefully, cultures collide, new things are born. You don't know where you'll end up.
The OT king, am I right?
100%, man.
I absolutely agree with everything you said. Even in Head High, there was Brotown in there, which was a very early sort of periphery in regards to Maori and Pacifica sort of entertainment, right? Even coming to Head High, that obviously, tackles a bit more complex storylines than Jeff the Maori and his guitar in Brotown. Or Babello going to the pub and he may be sometime. But I was well satiated. And the reason why this show just fucking works on every level is because it's also coming from the lens of women as well. I love having, the brown female gaze, so to say, in this because it covers a lot of specific sort of, topics. And I think it's even in the first episode where they're all coming together and they're talking about these particular sort of issues, right? And what I really, 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 really love about it is maybe even from my own experience, you can't sit around having uni lectures or having textbook conversations because they will just like poo-poo you and boo you out of the room. Like when you're in that sort of setting, it's all about mocking, it's all about laughing, which is cool, super cool. But sometimes we need to get to a level of depth. And I love that not only are we exploring themes that are important to talk about, but it's also approached in a way of humor, right? Even we see, I think it's at the start of episode 3, when we have Gigi and her family meeting, her brother's girlfriend for the first time. Apparently not the first white girlfriend. Can we talk about it? I'd rather not. Oh man, maybe in another time, or if we're feeling a bit spicy near the end of the episode, I guess we can talk about it. Are we not the poster people for interracial dating, OT?
Should be.
I think Tom would applaud us. I think we're Tom's wet dream.
Oh, wow.
But, even broaching topics of like respecting your elders and, but it was one of those moments, Pitbull, Mr. 305, worldwide, uniting all cultures. As soon as that, for lack of better word, white girl said the mum's name and looked at her in both eyes, we both knew what time it was.
For sure. Man, I grew up never knowing my parents' first name until I was much older. Because why did you need to know them at all?
Yeah. Like that's actually none of your business.
Yeah, man. It's even safer for you not knowing. Because then I can't slip.
Yeah. Exactly. But you see what I'm saying? There's so many muy caliente. There's so many tangible sort of themes that are explored in this show, and it's done in a way that hits not just on my levels, on OT's as well. Well, let's get into the themes that I have for us today. Obviously, we're going to start off with Indigenous storytelling as well as story sovereignty. And I also say this to someone that is watching Alaska daily, willingly.
Wow, you love coming for me nowadays, eh?
Well, you chose to watch it and you choose to continue to watch it.
It's the swank of it all, man.
Everyone loves a classic whodunit. It's just interesting having the themes be so clearly about the industry and to also have the circumstances lay out the way that they do. We don't need a Daniel Craig to solve that mystery, do we, OT?
No, neither did the movie.
Yeah, and Kevin Costner can stay away from the native land, right? For every recommendation I get for Yellowstone, I'm just going to slam it on the podcast. Just know that.
Hell, man.
Just know that. The next theme that I want to go into is the industry / diversity. And I think we can also relate that to, the things that we're currently watching. But I want to talk about the way that it was explored in SIS.
Yeah, they're trying to pitch a story, they're in the writer's room, they're trying to create the story so they can pitch it out.
There's funding for a Pacifica show, but only one. There's only room for one.
Of course.
The pick me of it all.
Why would you have more than one?
Exactly. So I guess that's an interesting sort of backdrop to have.
Yeah, and it's the sort of age where you have these people who are providing funding for this, but more often than not, the funding goes to people who are not indigenous and who are writing from a perspective that's not their own.
Oh, so it does matter, Mr. Alaska Daily.
It does. And I can put my chest out for this because I know that it affects a lot of people. And we see a lot of shit that gets aired and people who get opportunities for this shit.
Yeah.
And you wonder when your time would be. So how SIS explored this, albeit in a sort of comedic way, it still hit home.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we get to see how everything transpired up until the end. And, either be people jumping ship to go to someone who they knew they would get because they're writing from, when it's, let's say it's a white person writing a story from a different point of view, people regard it as this guy is super woke, he's very in touch with everything else, and he has...
Did you just say Aaron Sorkin?
Man,
quoted as saying you don't need to be from a particular experience to write that. And I guess I present to you the trial of the Chicago 7, which I think a lot of us are still trying to finish watching.
It's it's something that's plagued the industry. And I think when we talk about it more and we expose it more and we make people aware of it more, because at the end of the day, some people might not even know, me growing up, I never really paid attention to the directors, the writers, and all that.
Yeah.
It's something that you capture it more when you grow older and you pay attention to everything other than it just being a consumable piece of media. So I loved and I enjoyed how they portrayed it here because it was quite realistic. It made sense.
Yep.
When they didn't get the funding, I was like, of course they wouldn't.
Yep.
Because they never do.
Well, I could have stopped you while you were going to say spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. But that's fucking true, isn't it?
It is. It's the world we live in. If you think I've spoiled it for you, you've not lived.
Yeah. Or you're like Tom, you're a well-meaning ally. A side note, I brought up a qualm in the acknowledgement of land that we occupy in a work context. And I had a well-meaning white lady ally tell me that I should bring it up myself.
No one wants to rock that boat with a boss, so it will only make sense.
But then I was also like, I constantly have to navigate this white space as a brown woman. And then she was like, oh, yeah, I do understand that. We should fight together. And I'm like, fuck off. If you're not on the front line for change while you're picking up your pennies of oppression, I don't want to hear about it, colonizer.
Wow, man, you've puffed up your chest for today.
Yes, that's why your whitewash shows don't do it for me, OT.
You got your tits out, Laurie Strode style, eh?
Show it your tits. Absolutely. But you're 100% right. And, a conversation that we probably have outside of the podcast, but it's definitely relevant to hear, is when you live in countries where you have majority, white population, and I think if we're talking about specifically about Aotearoa, but even here in Australia, the voices of Black and Brown and maybe even First Nations people are the ones that are saying the shit that white people are comfortable with, what they want to hear, and what doesn't challenge them. It's all fun and games, but even to visibly be non-white can be very threatening.
Yeah. And that's a fact of life, It's something that we live with. It's something that we carry through. And whether or not you think it's right or wrong, it's just is.
Before we move on to another theme, like for me, diversity isn't enough. Like you see it on all the induction and marketing materials of corporate culture. Like you see all these. I get jealous of all the brown people on the materials because where are they? Where's my kin? Where's my peeps?
Yeah, man. I'm at a place where I see a lot of black people in the materials, and I've been looking. I've been looking for my people.
Where are they hiding?
What?
Well, they're just going to be the next diversity event. We're going to see them.
Bruh, like I can't turn a corner without seeing a black person posted or plastered somewhere.
Yeah.
And I walk around and nothing. I thought it was different. I thought I'd see, you know what? There's a lot of black people in here, man. But
I'm gonna coin it. They're diverse lighting you. They're making you think there's diversity,
yeah.
but it's not really. Speaking of, the next theme that I have is the humor in this show. It was very funny. Like I guess you would be more of the litmus test for it, but I thought the humor was very, very funny. I would think that a lot of the themes were also universal enough for it to be funny. How about you?
Found it hilarious. You know, like you mentioned, we had that situation with a white lady meeting the parents for the first time and it being super, like, we've lived all those as someone who's fucking native. You know, you've had those weird moments. It was hilarious. And all through those transactions when we got to see, even when the parents were like coming to the guy's room.
Yeah.
You know, and she'd slept in the guy's room and the parents are coming in. Like, man, you know, sometimes you just gotta be aware a bit.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it was also explored that Gigi's brother is bi as well.
Yeah.
Which we'll come to. But you know, you have a pick of both genders and you choose her. Wait, I'm sorry. Maybe I do have a pick-me brown girl in me. Who knows?
You do. We had the clap back for Rob Kardashian.
Oh, that was so good.
That was one of the most hilarious things. I think I burst out laughing.
We had to rewind it a couple of times.
We did.
We had to run it back. Rob, run it back, Kardashian. It was too good.
Imagine getting your hair did, putting up makeup, and then someone says, me. I think I'd throw down, man. I would not stand for that.
Are they going to catch your Will Smith hands?
Oh, they would, man.
To get a Will Smith concussion?
Yeah.
To get a Will Smith Nigerian accent?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, representation is important, even accents, OT.
It is.
Oh, another hilarious. Many of the hilarious moments in season 1 was when Tom was trying to look up his, like, do a DNA test for his ancestry, and he came back 100% English. Because surely somewhere along the way, you need to have some sort of seasoning somewhere.
Nah, man, the people who kept it pure, bruv.
Like at that point, it's kind of impressive.
It is.
But he should have known better, because if that was his ancestry at both cookouts, he would know.
Wow. When your hand reached for that raisin, you should have known, man.
What are your thoughts on Tom's character in particular?
I enjoyed him, man. I felt, you know, he is a super ally. You know, he wants to be, he not only wants to be for the culture, he wants to be part, he sees himself as part of the culture, you know?
Yeah.
And, man, I'm not going to be here and gatekeep, you know?
Okay.
Color, it's only fucking skin deep, doesn't fucking matter.
Okay, I think this is a Hansel and Gretel journey you're taking on your own, OT. keep those colorblind breadcrumbs to yourself.
I don't see color, man. I walk out there and everyone's beige, and that's cool. But anyway, I think he was really hilarious, and I think him being really blinded, be it naively, that he feels that he is part, and he feels so connected because he can talk to Pacific women and connect and write a show.
I don't like the way you said that, but okay.
What?
I don't know. Just it felt layered. It felt loaded.
Oh wow. No, I could feel his need to connect.
But why? Can OT, is this a safe space?
Always.
Can we be real on this podcast?
100.
As opposed to every other fucking episode we do.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Like, why is it like two extreme swings of the pendulum? It's either super hating our people or it's over fetishizing. Like, why can't we just get something in the middle?
Man, I'd need a doctorate for that.
It's either they're calling us savages or they're calling us brother and sister in our language. Like, why isn't there an in-between? Why can't you keep your identity but also embrace other cultures?
Yeah, they'd call us savages, but still want to hit it, you know? So it's one of those things where you're like, bruh, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. It's one of those stupid things. People are stupid. But I liked him as a character in this. He was very funny. I found he
wasn't malicious, I think is the main point.
Yeah,
of all of the evil forces, he wasn't one of them.
Yeah, it didn't come with any of the nasties. It didn't come as if it was ill meaning or anything like that.
No,
you know,
no.
It's just one of those things where you get someone who's really trying. Be it he's very, very naive.
Mm-hmm.
But he's giving his all. You know, his intentions are fucking pure, but he is just not ready.
Yeah, we've given the white man character enough. He's had enough airtime, OT. Go and watch a Yellowstone if you want more white man representation in a native story.
Wow. I think another hilarious moment was when they were doing the twerking class. And it was a white lady with not the most endowed backside.
Just say she got a flat ass.
Man, I'm a lover of ass. I'm not going to discriminate. It's one of those things where it was fucking hilarious, you know, seeing people come in and getting the class, paying good money for these classes. And I think this is actually a real thing going on up there.
I'm pretty sure Gwyneth Paltrow is the leader.
100%.
And the motto is, you don't need a handful, you just need a pinky full.
Mm-hmm. With the goop egg up you as well. So...
There are also some funny teachable moments, you know, and I guess like the underlying sort of theme is, you know, as Pacifica young women, there are things that you just don't talk about. So the sexual health check.
Yeah.
I think it was Gigi that went over to the house and, you know, the well-meaning white lady was telling her to, you know, share all of her feelings, which is very important. But, you know, having the suppressive sort of upbringing, I understood why that would be uncomfortable and it just doesn't work, you know. Again, it's hitting levels that aren't necessarily for everyone, but it's definitely got a lot of resonance all around as well.
100%.
Let's move on to queer representation in this show. You know, specifically in the writer's room, we have Fia and we also have Nucky. I shed, I would say, a couple of tears in this season. And I think most of them were for Nucky. Like, I just wanted to see Nucky win. I would say the most developed storyline in the show. I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. You know, Nucky was so hardworking, so dedicated, realized how ridiculous the circumstances for the funding of the show would be, and also just the general sort of frivolity inside of the writer's room. But Nucky was always there to work, you know? Outfit, 10 out of 10. Work ethic, 10 out of 10. Attitude, all the way up to the moon.
For real.
And what I really loved about it is, you know, at the end of the season, Tom was like, even though this didn't work out, I want us to work together in the future.
Yeah, she was super hardworking, She brought everything to the table. She's just a go-getter. And you want people like that around.
She belonged in the Miss Independent Neo video, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think also I like the way that SIS explored. I wouldn't necessarily say anti-transness, but I would say, there is a general sort of ignorance, which also makes me very sad, friends and lovers, because like I say with my Patrice Woodbine chest, where the nuance reside, where the nuance reside. But unfucking fortunately, a lot of attitudes in Pacifica not hearkening to our ancestors, it's our parents and maybe our grandparents. And what that means is it's coming from a very colonized Christianity lens. All ancient cultures, including Pacifica cultures, had more than 2 genders.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad and also in many levels fucking frustrating to see my fellow brown people come with that sort of ignorance, right? Instead of leading with curiosity and a wanting to learn, it is in a more malicious sense. And friends and lovers, if you want, let's pull up on Israel Folau. I'm ready. Oh, I'm getting spicy OT. Mm-hmm. But, it wasn't necessarily as pointed or malicious in this show, but we did have Mickey come, with a sort of trend of guys dressing up as women, and that was the whole joke.
Yeah.
And that, man, that got me, man. Like, I got very emotional watching that. And, there is a part of like, if you have the grace to extend that to Mickey because Mickey didn't know, but it's like, pull your head in, this is where we are now, or just be open to being teachable.
Yeah, do the walk, man. A lot of the time we expect people to do the work for us, to teach us, to tell us where we've gone wrong. But sometimes, it doesn't hurt for you to go the extra yard and to understand that the people are there with feelings that you need to understand how to transverse the fucking world, which isn't that hard to do.
The word of the day brought to you by OT. Fia. Fia was a very interesting character, or at least the sort of hijinks that Fia's character would foray into. It was very reminiscent of black comedy. What's this in, slut?
It's my Buddha slut.
Can't even handle a slut. I saw you with my man, slut. Like, Fia's character was very much giving me that energy.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was the tension reliever. He just made, even in serious moments, we were talking about serious matters or issues, or even sort of trying to cascade through difficult topics. He was there to sort of bring a sense of levity, while still showing, it wasn't like Jim Carrey just there, He in as much as he brought levity, he still kept it real.
That's interesting, because I would say, aside from like the skit a la Rock Lee and his Ninja Pals sort of skit levels, in the actual sort of storyline, I would say Fia was quite serious. I also liked the way that Fia was portrayed because, there is an extravagance, there is a flamboyance, but there's also different experience as well. So I did like the way he's portrayed, but there was a part of his character that I did have qualms, quarrels, and quandaries with.
Lay it out, man.
Let's talk about the Chicken George in the room. It very much had that energy, like, because it doesn't go unnoticed that Fia was the one with the black beret, and he very much, even verbally, like vocally, he would vocally talk about how important it is, but then he ended up going to, I think it was Invaders Productions. So what's that then?
It's him looking after number one. We've covered a lot of shit that people do, and it's always based off self-interest. And at the end of the day, he managed to see that, because we're not going to get funding, I might as well jump ship.
But are you about it?
Some people are just about themselves, and fair enough, man. Like,
well, don't say representation is important. Just say I'm important. Put me at the front.
But that's a lot of people out there like that.
Ooh.
And that's the sad thing, isn't it?
That is the sad thing.
Because if I was to compare it with, let's say, politicians getting elected in Kenya, they'll all fucking pretend that they care. That
throw their shillings out. Yeah.
But once they get to a point where they have an opportunity to make something for themselves, then they forget everything before that, and they become super corrupt. It's all about them. They steal and all that shit. So to the point where
Are you comparing Fia's character to a corrupt Kenyan politician?
I am not. I'm just saying the characteristics are there, and
I don't think you've even likened anyone on Succession to a corrupt Kenyan politician.
Bro,
wow.
I ain't gonna come for me for this then. I'm just saying there's a level where, be it Black, Pacifica, it doesn't matter. When they're faced with, do I stick with a situation where I can't see a profit for myself for a longer time period, where I have to maybe struggle a bit more to make an effort to continue pushing, so that we're all raised above. There are people who are like, fuck that shit. I've done the struggle. I've done whatever. They feel like it's my time. And that was Fia. He felt like, I'm better than this. I need to be in a production.
But if we can be real about it, it adds another icky level. Because if that was the case, Fia's character should have just embedded himself in the white sort of productions anyway. If he wasn't going to be about his people, he should have just went through that venue. Why go through here and then gain and win the funding through a non-Pacifica lens? That's double, triple brown jeopardy right there.
Yeah. It's one of those things where he had to fight with his demons in his head, where he's like, oh, I'm on the right side now, but if I'm offered something else, might as well jump ship.
Yikes.
Fact.
Man, you can call it empathy or you can call it exact experience, because the way you were able to relate so quickly.
I'm banned, bruv. I come with my own baggage. In this, so...
Well, speaking of baggage, the next thing I want to talk about is offensive betrayals. It was done in a very funny manner, I must say. It didn't leave us feeling deflated like the 1930 King Kong. But it was done through Gigi's character. I think she was casted into some sort of Maori production. And I thought that was funny. I thought it was done very well. I talked about it in the Nope episode specifically. Obviously, we can talk about different cultures and that sort of thing, but specifically in the Nope review episode, I talked about how Jordan Peele was able to perfectly portray the Hollywood industry. And the way he was able to do it is because, he's had to navigate those spaces or may continue to navigate those spaces.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll also say, friends and lovers, if you just thought it was a surface level sci-fi film, then you also don't understand why Jordan Peele said he wouldn't be able to make this film 5 years ago. But anyway, keep your PC babies or watch your things on surface level if you choose to, friends and lovers. But what I also felt in SIS as well is there was an understanding and there was also a calcifying, perhaps through personal pain, from being in the New Zealand industry, right? And we see that done in a very humorous way, but in a very real way when, Gigi was in the makeup chair. Even acknowledging that she's not Maori, but it didn't matter. At some point being dressed like Pocahontas. Because, OT, the very wise sage that we have on this podcast and in the For Your Reference household, has pointed out to me many times that racism doesn't need to be smart.
Never is, man.
What did you think about that scene?
Made sense. We cast a lot of people out there. I say we very lightly, but people are casted out there and you're like, you know what? Someone who would fit any sort of ambiguous role, they'll put them in as whatever.
Yeah.
Stand in as whatever. And to the point where we are learning to be better, I think. definitely becoming better than what we used to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we continue to raise awareness and it's continue to be aired that, you know what, this shit ain't right.
Yeah, it ain't right at all. But something that is also right, friends and lovers, you know, we cover a lot of film and we cover a lot of television, and this might not mean anything to anyone, but, you know, now that we're starting to see, you know, especially in America, we're seeing Black executives, Black network executives. You know, Larry Wilmore doesn't get enough accolades. You know, if you read the cliff notes for Insecure, he helped Issa Rae. You know, also Abbott Elementary, our Quinta Brunson. You know, even Tyler Perry as well. You know, Kenya Barris. Like you have people that are embedded that are at a high enough executive level. Shonda Rhimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope one day it will be so easy to rattle it off for like Maori and Pacifica sort of network runners and that sort of thing, because unfucking fortunately, that's where the change is going to happen, right?
It is. And I think I just want to see some stability and some backing to Pacifica shows. And creativity. You know, Head's Eye was cancelled because of some nonsense.
Fuck that.
You know, it's one of those things where just back the talent to do what they do best. You know, don't fucking interfere in things that you think you know more of or you know better. Sometimes, man, just let the talent be. And it's fucking ridiculous because we've had a lot of shows drop off because of some big network interference or just they don't get it.
But even Total Control, you know, Deborah Melman, who is an intergalactic, supranational, amazing, beautiful person and also star, she should be enough to be able to back Total Control.
Griffin?
Yeah, but even then, it went through funding to advance First Nation stories. Even in a country where you have the legends in film and TV, they couldn't even go through the mainstream bucket. They had to go through the diversity bucket for a show that, first of all, already tested its muster and has, again, I don't know, it's just fucking frustrating.
It is. It is. For Deborah Mailman to have to bend backwards to this fucking idiot, it's ridiculous.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And then it's like you can get other Indigenous and First Nation stories through that funding because you've already got guaranteed stars there in Total Control, which makes no sense.
Facts.
Go and check that out, friends and lovers, while we're here. Something that I want to finish off in, again, it might not be important or you might not have even noticed it, but, you know, with the availability, with the accessibility, with the opening of the closed gates previously, we are seeing more stories from different voices, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, something that I have noticed in general is, especially if it's a non-white story, there's a lot of like one-dimensional white characters.
Oh.
It's kind of like a mirror. Obviously, it doesn't have the same staying venom of decades that, like, you know, racist sort of caricatures were of non-white people. But it's kind of the mirror of that. Like, we're just going to give them no dimension at all, right? And I wanted to give some love and praise to SIS because there were multi-dimensional white people in this show.
Yeah.
Except for maybe the visa intake officer. But you know what I mean? Like, it's so easy, and maybe even just out of a place of satisfaction of portraying white people as very one-dimensional. But unfucking fortunately, it's even the old people smiling at you at the RSL. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can get it from anywhere, unfucking fortunately. But I really like that we flesh out the characters. You know, even with Tom, you're saying you really like him. He's a cool guy.
It is, man.
I just love this show. I just love this show so much, and I would encourage everyone to go and watch it. It's on Vimeo, and we're very excited to continue to support SIS and the team.
It's definitely a must watch. It's fun. You know, in as much as you can walk away with a lot of hard thinking sort of pieces out there, it's still very, very hilarious. I think what they've done here is outstanding. And the fact that we watched the pilot like ages ago and it was still in our minds, it reverberated, and we still continue thinking about it, wondering when is it going to drop? When is it going to drop? And it just shows the level of talent, thought, hard work put into this, and I can't give it any much praise than that, man. It's one of the best things we've watched this year. It's fucking rewatchable. And you know how much that means to me. The rewatchability factor in anything is important. And this has a bucket load of it.
Yeehaw!
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, friends and lovers, for joining us on another episode in the For Your Reference household. We're going to finish off in a segment we call For Your Reference. OT.
Keeping it in the sketch show sort of family, I'm going to reference Black Lady Sketch Show. You know, a group of women doing what they do, just like this, you know. And it was funny, hilarious, lighthearted. It's on HBO Max.
One more time, OT.
Black Lady Sketch Show.
Woo-hoo.
Black Lady Sketch Show.
Well, I'm going to keep it in the sketch family, and I will reference black comedy.
Hey, my Buddha brother. I see your man moon coming, eh?
If we're not laughing, we're crying, or we're burning down the institutions. We ride at dawn, friends and lovers.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd like to join the revolution, on Twitter and Instagram, we're at ForYourRefPod.
Write us an email at hello@podcast.com.
We're also on Stream SIS on Vimeo right now, all day, every day podcast, if you'd like to leave a rating and review. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, sis.
Bye.